Welcome to Black Swan Revelations. My name is Shane, and today we're going to be talking about the Abomination of Desolation, and there's no better place to start than the book of Daniel. So if you like this kind of thing where we go deep, then feel free to stick around, subscribe to this channel, leave a thumbs up as well. So let's get started. We're going to be going through a bunch of verses this evening, so let's just have a look here. All right, so this is Daniel chapter 9, verse 20. And while I was speaking and praying and confessing my sins and the sin of my people, and presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God, yea, whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, so remember that, touched me about the time of the evening oblation, and he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications, the commandment came forth, and I am come to shew thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore, understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 70 weeks, and 62 weeks the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. After 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the Prince, come back to this as well, that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with the flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So lots of stuff going on here. What in the world is going on here? So let's talk about this. So in the book of Daniel, there was determined that there was going to be 70 weeks. We are almost at the stage where there's basically 1 week left. 1 week left of judgment, if you will. This is what we call Jacob's trouble. This is what we call the days of vengeance. So there's 1 week left. So why do we say there's 1 week? Well, if you go back to Jesus' day, Jesus actually told a parable about a vineyard. And basically what happened was, well, actually, probably the easiest thing is just to read the parable, and then we can tie this in with why there's still 1 week remaining. So let's just go to Luke chapter 13, and let's just go over to verse 6. He spake also this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came and sought fruit thereon and found none. And he said unto the dresser of his vineyard, Behold, these 3 years I have come seeking fruit on this tree, and find none. Cut it down. Why cumbereth it the ground? And he answering said unto him, Lord, let it alone this year, till I shall dig about it and dung it. And if it bear fruit, well. If not, then after that thou shalt cut it down. And as he was teaching, Yeah, that's it right there. So, and if it bear fruit, well, and if not, then after that thou shalt cut it down. So, what is going on? What is going on here? So, again, to tie this in with where we're at today, basically the program of Israel was actually put on hold. When Stephen got stoned. Why? Because the leadership corporately of Israel stoned Stephen. They rejected his message. Remember the speech? Stephen went deep. He went into the history of Israel, and it came to a conclusion, and they decided to reject his message. From that point on, the program of Israel was suspended, and Paul basically took over. We know this if you just follow the book of Acts, where Paul actually starts preaching to the Gentiles. Peter was sent to the circumcised, Paul was sent to the uncircumcised. So basically, from that time forward till now, we have the program of Israel in suspension mode, if you will. Until when? Until we get raptured, until we end up going up to heaven, because we know that one day Jesus Christ is coming back for his church, for his body, for his flesh, for his bones. And then the program can finish out its last week. But we're diving in specifically to the abomination of desolation. But it's important to note why there's a gap of time. That's for the church. This is the age of grace that we're in right now today. We have mercy today because really it's quite simple to be saved today from the wrath to come. All you have to do is believe that Jesus Christ died and rose again, and all our iniquities were put on the cross, past, present, future. And because of that, he shed his blood for us. It's really simple. It's really simple now to believe, but there will come a time upon the earth where the entire earth is going to be judged. That is not for the body of Christ. You can't mix the two programs up. So when that last week begins, that'll be right after the rapture. So this is where we're at right now. We're talking about in this video, we're talking about what is this abomination of desolation? Should we be concerned about this as a Christian, or is this for future? Is this for something that's coming upon the whole world? And I would suggest to you that this is coming upon the whole world. Why? Because Jesus Christ hints at this whenever he was talking to his disciples, whenever he's preaching. There's one time where he actually said, it'll be like the days of Noah. Well, what was happening in the days of Noah? They were marrying and they were giving in marriage. Meaning what? Well, they weren't just having a party. They weren't just having a good time, but they were actually introducing the Nephilim into the earth through fallen angels. Fallen angels would find themselves women and make them to be their wives, and then their offspring would become Nephilim. That is what was happening that basically caused the whole world to be destroyed except for one family, and that was Noah. One family. God found Noah to be perfect. In what way? His DNA. His body was perfect. It wasn't corrupt because, again, back then they were doing all kinds of crazy experiments on animals, angels mixing with animals, angels mixing with women, all kinds of carnage. And this is what Jesus is hinting at. He's saying there's going to be a time where it's going to be like that. You can't ignore the Nephilim. You can't ignore races of giants living on earth before the flood, because this is what's going to happen later. And we get hints that something horrible is going to happen upon earth, upon mankind, something that hasn't happened before nor will ever happen again. So what is this? This is the abomination of desolation. And we're going to dive into it. We're going to dive into it, and I'm going to explain it so that by the time you're done this video, at least you have a better understanding of what this abomination of desolation is. Let us go to Luke chapter 21. And let's see here. Let's have a look here. Might as well start right. Verse 5. I think that's a good place to start. Let's go to verse 5 here. Verse 5. And as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another, that shall not be thrown down. Now, some people think he is just talking about the temple. I think he's also giving a hint, and this is just me right now, but I hope by the end of the video to back this up. Some people think he's just talking about the temples in that day and age, about the stones there, because they were talking about it. But you'll also notice if you go to the book of Job, it talks about morning stars, it talks about angels. I believe in this example here, goodly stones is in reference to fallen angels. Fallen angels. Now, stick with me on this one here. Stick with me. As for these things which ye behold, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. We know in the book of Revelation that there comes a time where Satan and his angels will be cast down. And they asked him, saying, Master, when shall these things be, and what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And he said, Take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near, go ye not after them. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass. But the end is not by and by. This is not the end. If you hear of wars and rumors of wars, that is not the end. That's important. We're not finished just because you see wars and rumors of wars. He says that's not the end yet. The end is still coming. He says this also in Matthew 24. You're going to see wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places, all this stuff. But that is not the end. And again, he says it here. The end is not by and by. That's not the end. Then he said unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilence. There's another way to look at pestilence, and that could also mean destroying angels coming upon the earth to destroy it. Talk about that later. And fearful sights and great signs shall be from heaven. This is all related to fallen angels coming down to earth. This is why men are going to be horrified and terrified, because fallen angels will now inhabit the earth. And what's the first thing that they're going to do? Well, if you relate it to the days of Noah, they're going to go after the women. Great earthquakes. So look at this, verse 12. But before all these things shall they lay their hands on you and persecute you. So he's going back to before all these things. They're going to lay their hands on you and persecute you, and delivering you up to the synagogues and into the prisons, being brought forth before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall be to you for a testimony. Settle it in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay or resist. This is the Holy Spirit. And ye shall be betrayed, both by parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not an hair of your head perish. In your patience possess ye your souls. Keep your mind. Keep it together. Don't come unglued. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, surrounded. That's another way of saying surrounded with armies. Then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. So what kind of armies? Most likely hybrids, humans mixed with, I used to call it Nephilim juice. Something has infected these people that make them try and disintegrate Israel, try and get rid of Jerusalem. These are special armies. These are not just your average people. These are beings that are combined not only from angels, but also people as well, and perhaps animals. This is where people are going to be messing with DNA. So look at this. Then know that the desolation thereof is near. What is desolation? Desolation, if you look it up, is basically a hatred towards something. These things are going to hate mankind. This is not your ordinary army. They're not doing it to make peace. They're coming to wipe out Jerusalem. Then let them which are in Judea, so if you're outside of Jerusalem, flee, get out of there, leave, flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. So if you're in Jerusalem or Judea and you see this, you see Jerusalem being surrounded, or if you're outside of Judea, flee, get out of there. And let them which are in the midst of it depart out. Let them that are in the countries, let not them that are in the countries enter therein. So if you're outside of Judea, don't go in. If you're in Judea, don't go into Jerusalem. If you're in Jerusalem, get out. For these be the days of vengeance, Jacob's trouble, the day of the Lord. All this stuff is come upon the earth, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. This is what we just read in Daniel 9. But woe unto them that are with child. Who's that? It's women. And them to give suck. Who are these? These are people, women specifically, that take care of these babies that are to come into the world. These are not your ordinary children. Why? These are babies that have been mixed. Their DNA has been tampered with. How do we know this? Again, this goes back to before Noah's Ark, in the days of Noah. This is what was happening. How do you think those women birthed children? It was because of fallen angels, and we're going to see this happen again. So in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. What people? Well, the people that are coming out of these children to form these armies. That's the only way to look at it, because this woe here, this woe is not a coddling. This is not saying, oh, I feel sorry for you. It's woe. It's almost like, it's very similar to in Revelation, where an angel flies just before the three trumpets are being sound. Woe, woe, woe unto those that dwell on the earth, because there are three more voices of the trumpets coming, of the angels coming, three more judgments coming. And then you have the seven bowls of wrath to come. So this is not a good time. This is why Jesus is saying, woe to them that are with child. This is not just your average woman walking around. Something is going to be happening to these women where they're birthing super babies, if you will. And in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the end of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. This is coming down the pipes. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Again, echoing the times of before the flood was upon all the earth. The sea is going to rise. There's going to be tidal waves like you've never imagined before. The only difference is the world is not going to be flooded. There's going to be great distress upon all the earth. And if Jesus Christ were to let this continue, there would be nobody left on earth. The entire world would get wiped out. Look at this, verse 26. Men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. So these things are coming from heaven. This isn't just meteorites. This isn't just scientists that are like, oh, here comes a meteor shower. No, their hearts are failing them. Why? Because something is coming upon the earth. Where? From heaven. Because heaven is going to be shaken almost like a fig tree with figs that are coming off the tree before they're ripe. Just another way of saying fallen angels. These angels are coming to earth. How do we know this? In the book of Revelation, again, Michael comes. There's a great war in heaven. Michael comes against Satan and a third of the angels, and Satan and a third of the angels lose the battle, get kicked out of heaven, and they come to earth, and they cannot get back to heaven because there's no seat left. There's nowhere for them to go. They are stuck now on earth. And this is when the devil knows that his time is short. It's when he gets cast down to earth. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. So this is what's going to happen after all these armies start surrounding Jerusalem to try and wipe it out. They're going to exhaust the Iron Dome, David's sling, Arrow 3 are all going to fail. Lavender, the gospel weapon, all those will not stand a chance against these Nephilim, against these beasts that are made half man, half angel. They won't stand a chance. This is why Jesus said, if I don't show up, nobody's going to survive. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. This is our escape clause as a Christian right here. Look up. When these things begin to come to pass, then look up. We're going to be raptured out of here. This is not our problem on earth. You won't stand a chance against the Nephilim, against giants, against all these things that are coming upon the earth. We didn't even get into all the seals, all the trumpets, all the bowls of wrath. This is still coming down the pipes. And he spake to them a parable. Behold the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now at hand. So likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away. Which generation? The generation that sees all this will not pass away till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Take heed for yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and the cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall come upon all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Who? All them, all of them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. It's going to come as a snare. What? The cares of this life, drunkenness, worrying about what's going on in the world, all kinds of stuff. Watch ye therefore and pray always that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. Lots of stuff going on there. Whew. So now, again, when you think about it, let's just look up the word desolation here. Let's look up desolation. Look at this here. Let's go to desolation. Let's have a look at this word here. State of complete emptiness or destruction. Stony desolation of the desert, anguished, misery, loneliness, choked desolation, she watched them leave. So, what is the meaning of the word desolation? Emptiness, hopelessness. Let's see. What is the meaning? Sense of great unhappiness, hopelessness, the sense of loss, desolation we feel at her death is beyond description. So you get it, etc., etc. So here's also what desolate means: devoid of inhabitants and visitors, a desert, desolate, abandoned town. So Jerusalem is almost going to get to the point that it gets wiped off the map, but that's not all. That's not the all that's going on. What's also happening is many women are going to be left desolate as well. Whether or not they contribute to this Nephilim slash drinking Nephilim juice and all this kind of stuff, mixing, allowing their children to be hybrids, there's also going to be a ton of men that are going to be killed. Why? Because there's going to be huge wars, most likely World War III. So these women are not only not going to have children, but they're not going to have husbands as well, because they're all going to be wiped out. I'm not saying 100%. I'm just saying that this is what desolation means. And it's usually in reference to women being in stress for either because they're worried about feeding their children, or they've lost their children, they have no children anymore, or they've lost their husband, their spouse, maybe they're engaged to someone. This is a horrible time. This is not something that you wish to happen upon your enemy. So hopefully you got something out of this. Feel free again to leave a message, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts as well. Again, this isn't just a walk in a park. Like, this is a time like no other time in the history of mankind. You can't get around that. You can't say, well, there's going to be a worse time after that. No, this is the worst of the worst right here. And it's going to be horrible for people. Now, leading up to that, I believe that when we get raptured, everybody up until the age of accountability, all babies are gone. But what's going to happen is afterwards, and we read it in Daniel chapter 9, that the Antichrist is going to come in. He's going to have an explanation for why all these people are gone. He's going to have an explanation, most likely alien, some kind of an attack from above, and they're going to prepare to not be attacked again from above, because who's going to come? That's Jesus Christ on a white horse with his saints, with his angels, which are us in heaven. We're going to come back with him. We're part of the army coming back to earth. This is Armageddon. The Antichrist is going to be captured, and so is the false prophet. They're both going to get tossed into the lake of fire. And then the devil is going to get tossed into a bottomless pit for 1,000 years. And then he's going to be released for a short season after the millennium kingdom here on earth, when Jesus Christ reigns on earth for 1,000 years. But we're not going to be a part of Jacob's trouble. If you start thinking that way, you're going to be confused. And we don't want you to be confused. Again, we are not ordained unto wrath. Why is wrath coming upon this world? It's because of wickedness. It basically got full up to the ceiling, and now the wrath of the Lamb is about to come upon the earth. And that takes place once the restrainer removes the church. We're restraining the end times from moving in, as in Jacob's trouble. We're here, and because we're here, that should tell you that we're still under the age of grace and mercy. But once we're out of here, it's basically every man for himself. And if you don't think that's going to happen, you're kidding yourself. If you think you can hide in bunkers, that you could store up all kinds of ammunition and everything, it's not going to work. That's not going to help you out. They will find you. They will come after you. So the best time to accept the Lord is right here, right now, because we don't know when Jesus Christ can come back. He can come back today. He can come back tonight. He can come back tomorrow. He can come back a month, a year, 10 years from now. We don't know when he's coming back, but we do know he's coming. Here's another thing. We don't know when we're going to go, as in when we're going to die. We have no idea. So this is why today is the day of salvation. So if you're watching this video and you don't know Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, this is why you need to accept him. Because again, there's also lots of stuff on the other side of all this stuff. It's this wickedness is coming upon the earth. That's not for us. Getting a little bit parched now. But it's important to know that when you think about it from the context of marriage, a husband would never drag his bride through the mud in order to get her to a point where he's pleased with her. That just doesn't make any sense on any level. Nobody would ever do that to their spouse. So why would we think that Jesus Christ is going to strike himself again when he finished all his work on the cross for his body, for his flesh, for his bones? Doesn't make any sense, especially when you use logic. So I hope you got something out of this. If you have, feel free to subscribe, leave a comment, and give me a thumbs up as well. And I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.